Hi everyone, my name's Spencer and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made my May bullet journal spreads. And this was one emotional rollercoaster ride, let me tell you. I chose what I thought would be a relatively simple theme this time around and went with a 70s decor theme, sort of like these ones. I'll put my inspiration up here. But oh my god, I did not realise how much strife these curvy stripes would give me. For supplies, I actually used very few this month. I used these two brown Fineliners, one in the size 0.1 and one in 0.5. I did also get out this Moody gel pen, which I don't actually use in this setup, but I do use in general day-to-day journaling. For the main decoration, I decided to give my Archer&Olive Acrylographs another try. And I have such a love-hate relationship with these. Honestly, it's less hate and more just disappointment. These ones are the 3mm nib versions, which I got on sale when they were discontinued, and let me just say, I think I can see why they were discontinued. I literally bought one of each set, so you'll see in the video I have a list showing you which collection each colour I use is from. But honestly, I'm not sure I can recommend these over any other paint pen in particular. Don't get me wrong, I love the effect of these pens, and the final result is pretty much exactly what I wanted and what I pictured, but I don't know if all of the faff I had to go through to get that result was worth it. But you let me know, have you used these before? Are the smaller nibbed ones better? Let me know, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. So for my cover page, I chose to go with quite simple decoration this time around. So I recreated the 70s squiggle that I've seen a bunch on my Pinterest in a mix of bright and earthy colours, which are kind of quintessential to the 70s era. Each of the stripes on this page are 2 dots wide, and I freehanded all of the curves, which was an absolute nightmare, honestly. I kept drawing them in too much of a right angle shape rather than a smooth curve, so I redid each one about 5 times probably. And in the end, I think I just gave up and went with whatever worked because I was so done with sketching and really needed to film. I did swatch a few different combinations of colours, and I still don't think I got the order quite right. And actually I do make some mistakes in my setup, but that's okay, they still all look cohesive, so I don't mind too much. I mostly did the following order though: bright orange, brown, tan, and then gold. And then for the ones where I did 5 stripes instead of 4, I added in a peachy colour that you'll see later on. Side note, this orange pen is so gorgeous. I really love it. It's also the only one that worked properly for the majority of the time. It did give up a little bit towards the end, but I'll forget it because it lasted so much longer than the others. For the headings, I found this really cool retro font. Again, I found it on Pinterest, but I'll try and link the original designer in the description bar. And it fit perfectly with what I wanted this theme to look like overall. It's a bit different for me. It's a little bit like bounce calligraphy, but with some added flair. I actually had a lot of fun with this font, which isn't usual for me. I usually dislike the hand lettering part of this, but with this one, I loved it, and I will definitely be trying to use it in the future in more spreads. And that's actually it for my cover page. I know, very simple for me, but for once, this is what I was going for, and I actually don't feel the urge to fill it up more. And actually, I think this is my 2nd month in a row that I haven't used washi tape. Like, wow, that must be a personal record at this point. Anyway, back to my journal. Last month, I tried something new for me by creating a brain dump page before my monthly spread and other more official planning pages. And I wasn't sure how it would work, but it actually worked extremely well for me, and it meant that I used all of my spreads more than usual. So, given that success, I am doing it again this month. I'll be doing 2 of these pages again, one here, and then another one just before my weekly spreads. This first one is for writing, and the second one will be more open space for doodles and more freeform thinking, things like that. For this first page, I did that same decorative stripe curving around the outside of the pages and then going off of them, if that makes sense. This time, each stripe was just 1 dot grid space wide, so much thinner than the previous page, but I am using the same 4 colours that I used on the cover page for this stripe. You can also see that this is where I really do start to struggle with these pens, and I'm gonna try not to rant here. Oh, posh. I'm gonna try not to rant here, but let me tell you, these pens frustrated the hell out of me. I followed all the instructions and watched so many tips and tricks videos for these pens, but I could not get them to behave. Like, I shook them for well over 30 seconds. I pressed all the nibs gently until paint came out to activate them. So I activated them, which for someone with a disability that affects their hands and their energy levels, this is not an easy feat. But I swear to God, the moment I set them down again, even just for a moment, I would have to go through the whole process again. And you can see that sometimes they start working, but then just stop halfway through a stroke. So I'd go through the whole thing again, and it's so much, especially when I already have issues with my hands. So I ended up doing all sorts of sorcery to get these things to work. Like, I even tried flipping the nibs around and even replacing them entirely, which, when this is only the 3rd time that I'm using these pens since getting them, is quite frustrating. Anyway, rant over. Sorry, I know I said I wouldn't rant, but I had to get that off my chest. I do really love the effect of these pens though, when they work. They give a lovely, solid matte feel to the colour on page, and this is exactly what I wanted for this theme. I just wish it was easier to get this effect. So back to the design of this page. I split the title across the 2 pages again, and I love doing staggered headings like this. I don't know what it is about them, but they're just really appealing to my eyes. And that was a weird way to phrase that. I'm sorry. I outlined the headings in a brown fineliner. Initially, I used the thinner nib, but I actually go back and use the 0.5 nib later on to make the lines a bit thicker and just stand out a little bit more. Because of the colourful background of the headings, I decided to just leave the headings uncoloured and just outlined, and I think this was really effective, especially against the thinner stripes. Next, I'm doing my monthly spread. To make my calendar, I made boxes that were 6 dots by 6 dots, and I actually have 4 boxes on each page, so 1 for each day of the week, and then another one on the very end for a focus box. I actually did this last month too, but I think I forgot to say anything about it in the voiceover, so I thought it would be worth mentioning this time. I've also found that having a focus box has helped me stay on track with projects that need doing each week. It's helped me schedule video work and other creative things that I'm working on as well, which hopefully I will be able to share with you soon. This is the page that I actually did 5 stripes instead of 4 in my decoration. I know I initially did this because of how the decorative stripe interacted with the calendar boxes, but I actually ended up moving it, but keeping the 5 stripes, so who knows what was going on in my head at that point. I think it still looks good though. And this is actually the point where you'll see that peachy colour come in, and I love this peachy colour. It's so pretty. I did the headings for each day of the week in that lovely retro font again. I think I mentioned this before, but usually hand lettering is something I don't really enjoy as much as other aspects of journaling. But this month, mwah, chef's kiss. I loved it. There's something about the little flicks and smooth curves that just satisfies that brain itch, you know? Okay, maybe you don't and I'm just being weird again. Anyway, let's move on. I did each letter heading in a different colour from the stripe, from the original 4 colours that I used, so that I could reverse the pattern and we'd have some nice symmetry in the heading. I wrote focus in the same font but smaller, and I think in the lowercase option of the font as well. And I just did this with the brown Fineliner again. I also wrote the May heading again at the bottom of the page because I just thought the stripe alone looked a little empty and boring, and you know how empty space is my nemesis, so I had to put something there. So with that page done, we are on to my tracker page. And honestly, I think this is the page with the best stripes. For this page, I did the 5 colours of the stripes again because I thought it would just look better with the size of heading that I chose to do as well. And can we just take a moment to appreciate how pretty these T's are? Oh, so pretty. I love it. I'm going to start writing my T's like this all the time. This page has definitely become more and more simple as I've refined the way I track both my habits and symptoms, but I'm really happy with how it's working right now. If you've seen this before, you know what this table entails, but I'll go over it quickly now for anyone interested. Also, if you'd like a more in-depth video about what goes into this table, how I choose what to track, how I track things, that sort of thing, let me know and I will start working on that video. Basically, I use this table to track my pain and fatigue levels throughout the month, along with certain habits that I know have an effect on these things. So taking my meds, having rests, asking for help, as well as things that mentally help me as well, like tracking fun activities, rest days, and staying hydrated. It may sound weird, but I do have to hold myself accountable to actually do fun activities and take rest days, because otherwise I will just try and work every day, and that's just not helpful for anyone, but particularly not when you have a pain and fatigue health condition. This table is a tick box system, and I do all of the dates for the month along the top of the table, so that all the information for that day of the month is all together, and it helps me see patterns throughout the month this way as well. A slight change for this month, although again I think I did this in April too and forgot to say anything about it, is that I have added an average column at the end of the table. This is just so that I can see even more quickly and easily how I was doing in general that month, but the most important part of this table is to spot the trends and patterns, not necessarily the overall scores. So now we're on to the second brain dump page for this setup. Like I said, the first one is more for writing, so I'll copy over any outstanding to-dos and put things that are coming up during the month on there, that sort of thing. But this brain dump page is for me to use throughout the month. And it has a little bit more blank space, so I have freedom with how I make notes, and a little bit more space for doodles and things like that if I come up with like sticker designs and that sort of thing throughout the month. This time I wrote the title in the middle of the page. For some reason this helps my brain be like, okay, this is for brainstorming and more freeform notes, than like a title at the top of the bottom of the page. I think it might be because it reminds me of like making the mind maps in school all those years ago. God, I'm so old. But yeah, I think that's why it helps me do that. But if you're struggling to use a page, maybe change up where you're actually putting the heading and see if that inspires you to use the page differently. I did do 2 of those decorative stripes on either side of the page. but my camera died. And I film on my phone, and for once, I didn't run out of storage. It was just my battery that died. I swear, at the moment, it feels like if it's not one thing, it's another. Unfortunately, my other camera, the one I use for photography and for filming a dance video back in the day, is a chunky DSLR, so not really good for overhead shots, at least not with the other equipment that I have. So I had to pause and come back to this the next day. Luckily, I noticed quite soon after my camera died, so you didn't miss much of the actual setup, just more of me suffering with these goddamn pens. Anyway, with that done, it's time for my final spread of the setup. This is my weekly setup. Unlike the other pages where I had the 70s squiggle looking like it started off page and then continuing off the page as well, I actually created a full border this time. And I really like the effect of this, to group all of the information on this page together. This is the page I actually made a mistake on, which you will see me spot soon. I accidentally did the gold colour where the tan colour should be, and then when I swatched them out on my spare bit of paper, I really didn't like how the gold and tan looked in those swatches. They looked the wrong way round to me. So instead I used that alternative 5th colour, the peachy one, instead for the final colour on the stripe. And honestly, I think this was the best move, because if I'd done the tan colour, it would have highlighted the mistake more, but by just using another colour that we'd already used in the pattern, your eyes kind of glance over it more. I don't know, I might be making that up, but it makes sense to me. I again did all the writing in that retro font, just doing the initials for each day of the week. I split the page into 8 sections, 7 of which are for daily notes and jobs, and the 8th one is for a more general to-do list for the week, which I will take from that first brain dump and the focus section of my monthly calendar. I decided to stagger the second line slightly so the initials would be on the right hand side of the box, instead of the top left like on the previous line. I think it just looks prettier this way, and I'll still use the space to the left of the letters anyway. I have just realised that I haven't written the dates for this week on this spread, so I'm going to have to go back and add those in a minute. Remember to put your dates on, guys. That's my biggest piece of advice. So after finishing my weekly spread, I decided that I definitely preferred the thicker border on the letters, so I went back through my other pages and just thickened it up on the rest of the lettering so it all looked a bit more cohesive. It also helped these letters stand out more against that stripy background, and I definitely prefer this, even if my lines are a little messy here and there because I was so tired by this point. Seriously guys, my hands hurt so much. I was not expecting that for such a simple setup. Anyway, with that said, here is the final flip through. Let me know what you guys think about the acrylographs. Do you think the effort was worth it? And do you have any other tips about using these pens? Or should I give up and put them away? Or even give them away if anybody is interested? Anyway, thank you for watching everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please give it a like. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so we can hang out some more. I have some great projects coming up that I can't wait to share with you guys. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!